Hello, everybody, and welcome to Book It Vince, the wrestling dream match podcast on the internet from UnknownError. I'm one of your hosts, Martin Bennett. With me, as always, is the man of 1,000 holds, Antony Hall.
Oh, yeah. Who is the man of 1,000 holds again?
Make a guess.
Is it Dean Malenko?
It is Dean Malenko. Good job.
Oh, yes.
You get a gold star.
Oh, yeah, Tucky.
But today, it's not just any normal episode of Book It Vince, because, Anthony, we have a special guest.
Yes. Today, we have the honor of being joined by improviser, clown, all-around fantastic person, and comedian, Melissa G.
Hi, I'm so excited.
Welcome on in.
Yeah, thank you for coming in and having a chat with us at Book It Vince about fantasy wrestling, about old-time wrestling.
So, Mel, what got you into wrestling? Well, just to introduce you to the listeners, what kind of got you into wrestling?
So I grew up in I feel like it was like the golden age, like the era where wrestling became huge. So late 80s, early 90s, and my older siblings watched it. So it was like a Saturday afternoon thing. We would watch it, and like my brother and sister used to be a tag team against me and a pillow, and like they're older than me, so it was just like this very fun, just this fun thing. I don't know. It was
sounds like you got stiff with no partner.
Yeah, 100% did. 100% did. But you know, I feel like I got my revenge as I got older and started learning the moves. So it's all good. It's all good. Nice. But yeah, it was just this like super cartoony, superhuman thing that I just found so exciting when I was a kid.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we're going to get into our episode today where Mel is going to give us her dream match. But before we get into that, of course, I want to let everybody know that if you enjoy what we do here at Book It Vince, please follow, subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you listen to your podcast on, or you can come over to the YouTube and watch the video version of the podcast if you so choose. Follow us online on our social media at UE_films, because we're constantly doing different stuff. We're actually just started posting to our gaming YouTube channel with our first Among Us gameplay videos. So go check that out. Anthony didn't know how to play, and it's really funny.
Yeah, you can see the hijinks of me not knowing how to play Among Us. And also getting killed as the first crewmate every single time.
Essentially, yes.
So I never got to learn.
But now we get into the meat of it. So Mel, we asked you to bring us your dream match that you want to see. Who is facing off against each other?
So I would have loved and would love to see The Rock versus the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Perfect. For all the video viewers of the podcast, I am wearing my Macho Man t-shirt. I did not know about this matchup before I put this t-shirt on, so this is fitting as always.
It's perfect. It's so perfect.
Two amazing icons who, never got to wrestle.
No.
That's awesome. Is there any sort of like caveat, like specific thing that you want to happen within this feud, in this story between the two of them?
Yeah. So I gave this a lot of thought, and I would love to see both of them in a championship ladder match because, the Macho Man's finishing move was the flying elbow. So I just feel like I would want to see that. And so a ladder match.
Yeah, because ladder matches didn't really come into play until I think, what was it? Was it Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title or something like that? That was like one of the first ladder matches, and that was until after Macho Man's time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it was like the mid 90s or something.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't know, has The Rock ever been in a ladder match? I actually don't know if that's true or not.
Surely he has.
I don't know. Like, I can't even remember The Rock going off the top rope, to be honest with you. Like, I haven't watched wrestling in a really, really long time. But when I was really into it, I just don't remember. So trying to think of things I didn't see.
Triple H versus The Rock for the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam 1998 in a ladder match.
Wow.
There you go.
So yeah, I did.
There you go.
But all right, cool. So then I guess where we start off with is, you know, obviously these are two people of their separate times. So by the magic of dream booking, we can put them into the same era. I mean, the first thing you guys can say what you think. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is that it's face Macho Man and corporate champion The Rock.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
that totally.
Yeah.
'Cause that was some of Rock's best work, was when, like, he was a great face, obviously, but he was a really good heel.
That's when he started getting really big. Like, didn't he start out as a heel and like everybody just ended up loving him?
He, from my memory, and obviously from the rose-tinted glasses of nostalgia, he started out as a face, and it was when he turned on. I'm trying to remember it was when he turned on Mankind, and then like aligned himself with Vince and became the corporate champion. That's when he became a huge heel, and then it was Rock versus Stone Cold for like 2 or 3 years after that, because
feels like a decade. Like if you say like Rock versus Stone Cold to me, like it feels like this like just sort of blip of my childhood where it's like seemingly every single main event of every show was so Rock versus Stone Cold. And it just
they did
was
it
building up every time.
I think they did it as like 2 or 3 WrestleMania main events. So yeah,
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
But yeah, like corporate champion The Rock that's where like he kind of like all the charm of like his character of like back talking people, making fun of people, his crazy reactions. I mean, that was his matches with Mankind, with Stone Cold, with I think Undertaker as well. So yeah, it's a great heel to then play off of Macho Man. I never really watched. Well, Anthony, what about you? Did you watch have you seen a lot of Macho Man matches? Like his early stuff?
No, I think I've only seen like the big matches at the WrestleManias and such like things. So this will be fun to kind of talk through. Like to me, like Macho Man is just like such a huge figure in wrestling when it comes to like just this one main storyline with him and Mrs. Elizabeth or Miss Elizabeth. So I don't know. I'm interested for us to kind of talk it out and see how we could build up face Macho Man versus corporate champion The Rock. Corporate champion The Rock, question, is this when he was like wearing his like very open white dress shirt and like the sunglasses, or is that just like, is that always old Rock?
I think that was just always old Rock.
I have this image of like a match graphic with like him and Mankind facing off at like a SmackDown or something. And it's like one of those like animated match graphics. And he's like kind of just moving his sunglasses up and down his face. And he has just a very, very open white dress shirt. And it's like, oh my God, we get it. You have a huge chest. Okay. All right.
So then Mel, how do you think that this feud starts? Like where do you think its like inception is? Like usually we'll like go back and like try to figure out what was happening at the time, but like in real life, and use that as a basis. But in this kind of thing, I think we can kind of just like have fun with it. So where do you think it kind of starts its grounding?
So when I think about like the character of who Macho Man was when I was growing up, this guy was just, he would just go off. He was this hyper masculine, super sensitive, intense figure. And I feel like at the smallest insult, he would just go off and like challenge somebody to a fight. Like that's just how I remember his energy. So if I think about how it would start, I feel like it would be The Rock. The Rock like making fun of him like in a promo or something because they both wore glasses. They both were so charismatic. So I just feel like it would be The Rock instigating against maybe like champion Randy Savage at the time,
Right.
and just challenging him, like him being an older wrestler and then The Rock being this younger, fiery incoming superstar.
This would
So that's how I see
definitely be the battle of the promos. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like no two better to come out and just smack talk each other week after week after week.
Mm-hmm.
They would even need to fight each other for months. Honestly, like these two could easily just rip each other apart with their promos. I think one of my favorite, I mean, Rock has his, Rock was in kind of the age of like the, where people started getting catchphrases,
Right.
Mhm.
Cause he, do you smell what the Rock is cooking? What's the other one? It's the one where he asks someone a question is, oh shit, what is it?
He would call people. He would say Rudy Poo, candy ass.
Yeah,
all the random stuff.
I'm trying to remember the one that I was just trying to remember. It's frick, I forget. But yeah, he just started coming up with like every little thing to get him over, and people latched onto it. And
Totally. And that didn't really happen. Like I feel like that didn't happen when Macho Man was at his prime. He wouldn't necessarily get like that feedback from the audience where like watching The Rock do a promo or like just on the mic in the ring, like the crowd would just hang off of every word.
Yeah. They're also in different.
So it was totally different.
Yeah. The eras were different too, where back in
Right.
Macho's prime, people did promos either on stage or backstage in front of a set. And it was Mean Gene standing there, and they were against the wall or whatever, and they would cut their promos. I don't even think in front of a live crowd. Because it just seemed like they were just like reading a script or just improvising on the spot and coming up with whatever they needed to. Because that was like Dusty Rhodes promos. That was who else? Sting's promos. That was all their promos were kind of like that. But then Rock was in the era of like in the ring in front of everybody getting that feedback. So you kind of have this like live reaction feeding off the crowd versus this sort of like very well thought methodical breakdown of someone. Cause like, what is it? There's the whole Macho Man promo about like the tea
And the cream of the crop.
Cream of the
pulls up
crop,
a little
yep.
like creamer. Yeah.
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 So, but yeah, I think that's a good start of like, of Rock being this up and comer, or even like he's just reaching the pinnacle of like, of WWE champion, and he calls out like legends. Like maybe this is like Rock Legend Killer sort of, kind of storyline
Yeah.
where he's like, I'm going to start taking like, why are you people out there cheering for these old timers or these guys who, I'm the next generation. And then, obviously Macho Man does not take kindly to that because he never did. So
Mm-hmm.
You'll just get overly emotional about him calling out the fact that he's old. He'll be like, I'm not old. I'm the strongest I've ever been. I'm a stallion compared to you. And he just like really, I think he'd really get into it. He's like, I'm the Macho Man. You're a rock. You're nothing. What is a rock compared to a Macho Man?
That sounds kind of perfect. So yeah, that I like when I was thinking about like who would I want to see. It wasn't just about the match; it was about like the build up. Because I
Hmm.
remember, like for me, watching wrestling, so much of that excitement was about the build up to the actual match.
Right.
Um, yeah. So, oh my God, the promos.
I think it definitely has to start with maybe uh like the way that it kind of pictures in my mind is like Rock maybe is newly crowned WWE champion. And this is where he's like, I'm I'm on top. I'm king of the world. And that's another fun little jab that can be at Macho, because Macho Man had his whole
Right.
King Macho gimmick for
Right.
a while when he won King in the Ring. Um, and so he could just start poking at certain people, and maybe then it shows people in the back starting to kind of maybe, I don't know, it could be as simple as Macho Man comes back to TV. Could be specifically for this, could be for another reason. And maybe they just start interviewing a few people. They're like, so what do you think about The Rock's comments? And maybe there's an interview with who would be a good legend at the time that could have been around. Could have been Dusty Rhodes or something like that, or any of those guys, where it's just like, yeah, he's a good kid, and he's smart, but or no, he's really good at what he's doing, but maybe he's not that smart. And that's where The Rock starts going, you know what, I'll take on any challenge. I'll take on any of you fools. And that could lead to maybe an exhibition match against, like, I don't know, Roddy Piper was around at the time. That would have been crazy too.
Yeah, that would
I'm
have been
basically
so
taking
good.
Randy Orton's Legend Killer storyline and putting it onto The Rock to eventually get to Rock versus Macho. But I don't know.
That's
What do you guys
cool.
think?
That is cool though. Yeah. And who are some other legends that were around that time that we could
This is also, this is
put
also
in Rock?
prime the chairman gimmick of Vince. Like, that's the reason why he had The Rock as the corporate champion, is because he had become Vince McMahon, the chairman of the board. And so it could be this thing of like even Macho Man cutting a promo on Vince and being like, "You've changed, man. You've turned your back on the boys in the back, and all you care about is the ratings. All you care about is the money, not about the sport, not about the entertainment, not about the fans. You know."
Oh, that's kind of great though. Like thinking about Vince McMahon at the height of his greed, just like really getting into
They used
that
to be on
bad guy
commentary
mentality.
together.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Oh, I feel like so even though it's a storyline, I feel like there would be a little bit of truth to it. Because hey, wrestling changed and it changed a lot. Like from the early 90s when I was like super, super into it to the late 90s, it was a complete shift in what was happening in wrestling. So I feel like this storyline, if I were to choose like a time period, I feel like 98, 99 would be like a really good time period for this match to happen.
Yeah. It could be this thing of Macho Man in one of his promos, cuts on this idea of like, so what are you trying to do, Vince? Out with the old, in with the new. You're disrespecting all the boys that brought you to where you are, brought this company to where it is. And so it's kind of like WWE corporate against, it melds into WWE corporate against like the old timers or like old schoolers.
The legends,
Yeah.
true legends. Mel, what do you think like were some of the biggest things that changed about wrestling over that amount of time? Like what did you notice as a fan from the early 90s and the 80s to the late 90s, early 2000s? Like what were some of like the big changes that you were like, whoa, like I don't know if I like this?
Yeah. Well, so when I was growing up, everything was believed. Like it's it's not that anybody questioned whether or not they were actual athletes. It was just more like the storylines. Like, I believed the characters. Like, there was no person behind that cartoonish character that you would see on screen every week. So I think what really changed over time was kind of like the I don't know, like the wall coming down, like the truth kind of coming out.
The
And I
death of
think for me
kayfabe.
too, yeah, definitely. And I think the Montreal Screwjob had a lot, like, was a big turning point for me as a fan, because that was huge. Like, I know that that's a totally different topic than what we're talking about now, but like when that happened, it was a total shock.
Mhm.
So that started to like unravel, like, wait a minute, what's actually happening behind the scenes and how much of this is an actual storyline? And so I would say like the quote unquote realness of it. And it also got a lot less cartoony and a lot more, I don't know. The Attitude Era was a tough one. Like,
Yeah, it got really edgy, and they tried
Yeah.
to go for more. I totally do agree with like you had like these we talked about this before on one of our past episodes, but like you had these characters where like their gimmick was like that they were a character. And then
Right.
going into the Attitude Era, you had a few of those, and there was few still lingering around where you had, the Undertaker, you had Mankind.
Yeah.
But then like if you ask me like what's Triple H's character? What's Shawn Michaels' character? He used
Right.
to be, he was in a classic tag team with his friend, and they were the Rockers, and so they were
Right.
kind of like these, like this new like hair metal age, like pop punky sort of bubblegum characters, and then he turned into this like he turned into the sexy boy, and then that was his character. But then after that, after he left and came back, and it was DX, like their characters they were just rebels, and that's
Yeah.
really it. But like you go back to like, yeah, you had Andre the Giant. What was his gimmick? He was literally a giant. And so they played into that. You had Macho Man, you had the Ultimate Warrior, you had Dusty Rhodes, you had these guys who like took an element of themselves and like really played into it. Like Dusty Rhodes was the Southern boy, who's the working man. Like, but then you get into the Attitude Era, and it's like, what's Stone Cold's gimmick? He's a rebel. What's The Rock's gimmick? He is like it's hard to even describe what The Rock's character is. So you kind of lost.
He is a guy who is very smart, but also very mean. He is a guy who wants to be famous. I don't know.
But I think
that's like, that's such a funny question to be like, to address that. Cause like, if you think about Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the person, it's so hard to separate him from The Rock. But then you think about like, what is The Rock? And it's like, well, how do I describe it? Like, he's just like,
early Rock was he came in kind of just, he didn't really have a character. And then when he transitioned to the Nation of Domination, that was a huge thing, because that was all about, touching on what was happening at the time in America. And so that was an interesting storyline for those characters to play, because it gave them kind of more depth. And then he transitioned into his solo. Like he's a great performer. Obviously, he's one of the best ever. But yeah, if you try to hone in on that thing of what happened after the Montreal Screwjob of kayfabe, and then learning about the system behind the scenes and all this stuff, yeah, you can kind of see where wrestling went, and the characters just became more like relatable, I guess.
right.
In a way.
Yeah. I mean, I think too, I don't know, like being a woman too, it was kind of hard to watch wrestling after a while. The direction it went in, like, it was uncomfortable. And I know that that's not what this podcast is about, but I feel like it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it, like, that kind of extreme, I think they went to an extreme of like just getting really crass. And I mean, I remember wrestlers though, like Trish Stratus. She was such a fantastic athlete, So I'm grateful for that. But it just, I don't know, like, I don't, I mean, Degeneration X became really popular. And I think that also just kind of fed into the Attitude Era and where it was also going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, yeah. It's definitely this change in where the business was going and what the product was gearing towards at the time. And I think that could be a huge thing to tie it back into the podcast, but it's all good. I love this conversation.
Tie it back into the match.
I love all of this conversation because it is just an interesting thing between these two wrestlers and what era they were both in and what they were a part of. But then to like have that be the core of what this rivalry could be of like old versus new, and the direction it's heading towards, and maybe it's like Macho Man is this voice of reason of like, this is what we used to be and this is what you're going towards. And then The Rock is on the corporate side of like, no, but it's what's good for business. It's what's good it's what's good for ratings. It's what's going to have us, maybe it's at the time where WCW was still around. And it's like, this is what's going to have us beat WCW. It's like, we need to be on top. And this is what the business is now. And if you can't handle it, then you can leave. And Macho's like, I ain't leaving. And then maybe he becomes like a vigilante of the locker room and interrupts like The Rock's matches and stuff. And maybe then there's a few other people that stand up, and we're going back to like the Legend Killer sort of thing where it's like, maybe Roddy Piper comes back. Maybe, I'm trying to think of other legends at the time who could have been around, because a lot of people kind of left and then came back after that period. But like, you could have these guys stepping up and they're like, hell, maybe like Bruno Sammartino or like who else?
I feel like Bret Hart would even be good, because I feel like Bret Hart was one of those wrestlers that, as much as he wrestled longer than Macho Man did, he was kind of, to me, like an old school. He had like an old school vibe, you know, like very true to what wrestling was
in terms of like classic wrestling, because
wrestling,
and that's the thing is, then I actually thought about this when we were kind of saying, oh, what are the characters of yesteryear, but like it's like what was Bret Hart's character? It's like Bret Hart's character was, he was a wrestler. He was just a classic wrestler of like, I'm going to win, I'm going to be the best, I'm a technical machine, and that's what my family is, and like the entire family became that sort of
wrestling royalty, like the Hearts. It's like the Heart Dungeon, the sort of like mystique that comes with like a family that like has dedicated everything that they have, their entire lives, their livelihood is all wrestling. Like that is something that is really interesting and pure about the Hitman and his journey throughout the WWE.
But I think that
so like
I think where it could end up leading to is The Rock's calling out that he's the new age of wrestling, and that this is where it's going, and then maybe some legends come back and kind of have a problem with that, and then it culminates into Macho Man, and it could even be maybe Rock is cutting this promo where he's kind of cutting people down left and right, and then he says something about Macho, and then all of a sudden his music plays, which would be insane, especially at the time. Like I think Macho had gone from wrestling to being on commentary, and then he left. And I know that in real life he ended up going to like WCW and like doing a couple other things, but if all of a sudden Macho Man Randy Savage's music hits in the Attitude Era, that would be crazy, especially at that time with those crowds. And so then maybe he comes out and stands on stage and just cuts a promo back, and this is the battle of the words, and it may not even then lead to any actual physicality, but it's just this back and forth that just is mesmerizing of this new versus old style of promo, which I think could be a huge draw people in so much into what then could be this rivalry.
I just had this vision of like, because both of them wore glasses at different times, like The Rock wore glasses sometimes, like I can just completely see, like, I don't know, like on an episode of Monday Night Raw, Macho Man's music going off while The Rock's in the ring, and like them having a face to face, like basically just a face off where they both take off their glasses and they're both staring each other down.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because they're totally like, they were both very kind of hyper masculine guys, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So just facing off against each other, but not actually fighting.
Oh, I just had this, that just made me think of like, Rock calls out Macho Man. Macho Man comes out. Rock didn't expect it. And then they start promoing back and forth of cutting each other down, but then also talking about like the business. Macho Man slowly is walking to the ring. Macho gets in the ring. They're face to face. Rock takes off his like Macho Man says something about him, and then Rock takes off his glasses and says something back, and everybody's like, oh. And then Macho takes off his glasses and just stares daggers into the Rock, and everybody's losing their mind as these two guys are just staring, because Macho never took off his glasses in like WWE, really. Like I remember him in WCW, and like after WWE, and he had his glasses off, but in WWE he never took off his glasses. And so I think that would be such a powerful image of like that kind of icon versus icon stare down.
Can you imagine the Macho Man doing like was it called the people's eyebrow, or like the eyebrow thing that The Rock would do? Like
That would be pretty funny that like The Rock rips down his sunglasses and he says something and he does the eyebrows, and then Macho Man rips off his sunglasses, says something, and then he does the eyebrows at The Rock. And then they put on the sunglasses and then they rip them off and they put them back on and they rip them off.
I think it then leads to like, I don't think that then that would cause any reason to like, for them to fight each other. I think like in that moment, I mean, and they would then like drift apart, and maybe you have JR and King on commentary just being like, what? Oh my God, this is a meeting of the, a meeting of the powerhouses, of the top performers of two generations. What's gonna happen?
So good.
And so then from there, I honestly think it's like you have to have like, I don't think you have Macho. Honestly, like usually when we say do these kind of bookings, it's like, okay, then you have each of them do some matches to show how good they are and everything. I think you'd have The Rock do that, obviously. I don't think you have Macho in a match at all until their match, because that would blow people away.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like The Rock. We obviously use this sort of final boss trope all the time when we're booking fantasy matches, but I would love The Rock to run through a couple of different legends or people who represent the old school wrestling vibe, like that era, to prove like that it doesn't matter about like your character or your integrity. It's all about the money and the fans and like and what people want to watch now. So he would have like a lot of like flashy matches against like dudes like, I don't know, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, where he would it would be like a bit of a brawl, but like, you know, The Rock is a superior athlete to a guy like Hacksaw, so he would get him into like the people's elbow. Yeah, he would do all the pandering things.
A good current, and I say current as in like in that time of people that were there. Someone that was there that was like of that old style was someone like Dean Malenko.
Oh,
where he's like, you gotta respect, like that's someone of his generation that can be like, you gotta respect what they did in the past and what they did in order to bring us here. I'll meet you in the ring, and maybe that can be at a pay-per-view beforehand. Where that's a grueling match of like, Dean Malenko is no joke. He actually knows how to wrestle, and he's gonna put The Rock through his paces, but then The Rock comes out on top.
Yeah,
but that's just to stick it to him. And then, I don't know, maybe you have moments of like Macho comes back on commentary for like that match or something like that. And then occasionally we'll cut to during these weeks where it will cut to Macho in the back or something giving like the old style promo where he's just continuing to try to cut down on Rock, but maybe Rocky's just like, I don't care what you have to say, I'm just gonna plow through all these people that are stepping up to me, and I'm gonna show you why I am the best and why we're moving forward.
I don't know why this came to me, but I almost get this feeling that Macho Man over maybe the course of a few months would haunt The Rock's matches. Like The Rock would have a match, but then somewhere in the audience, kind of like I think Sting went through this. When Sting was like slowly coming back, he would show up in like a random spot in the arena, but he wouldn't say anything. So I feel like I could just see Macho Man doing that and just haunting The Rock almost as this reminder of like wrestlers past kind of thing, up until the build up to their actual match, to try to get in his head. I don't know.
This is like a wrestling Christmas Carol.
Haunted by wrestling's past.
Yeah, the Rock is Ebenezer Scrooge, and he's like, "Oh, I'm at the top of my career, but I feel so empty."
Okay, well now we have to decide who is each one. So wait, so his partner? Who would be the, you know how it's like he is first met by the person that warns him?
Yeah.
Like, don't do this. Who would that be? It'd have to be someone of his time, I guess, that's warning him. But
I think who would one of the Rock's allies? I guess Mankind was like his closest ally of the time, right?
Yeah. So Mankind was
Christmas.
his ex-partner that shows up as the ghost in the chains and warns him.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like he's like in Hell in the Cell. Like he's we see like him in Hell in the Cell, and he's like shaking the cage, and he's like, The Rock.
So then it's Christmas past, present, and future. So then it's wrestling past.
Yes, Ghost of Wrestling Past which would obviously be Randy Savage.
Macho Man Randy Savage. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Wrestling present would be I guess Stone Cold maybe, or Undertaker.
Oh yeah, because he's very ghosty.
Or it could
Right.
it could be Stone Cold, and then wrestling future is Undertaker, because then Undertaker would friggin' go on for 20 more years.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Perfect.
That's
and he
true,
is the
that's
dead
true.
man, so
Oh, this took a turn. This was like
that was funny.
This was like a bit of a serious, like, we're talking about the changes of the eras and
Hey,
what it means to be a real wrestler versus like a sports entertainer. And now we're just booking the
Wrestling
Rock's
Christmas
Wrestling
Carol.
Christmas Carol.
I mean, perfect timing though. Like perfect timing that we would do something like this now, you know?
I mean,
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
this is what happens here on Book Events, so it's all good.
we always try to do something like legitimate and meaningful and cool, and then it just devolves.
It's wrestling,
into,
though. You can't always have
Yeah.
serious and meaningful. You have to have goof. There's always got to be
Okay.
goof. Which
I mean, that's
Which
what
is
brought me
great,
in
though.
the cartoon, right?
Yeah.
which made
It's
me
the potential for cartoony behaviors in a Rock Christmas Carol is endless.
Oh my god.
it did make me sort of think, just before we went down this path, it did think of like what Mel said about like, oh yeah, trying to like haunt him. And I just thought of I don't remember when Macho Man did the Slim Jim integration and stuff like that, and where he became very popular for step into a Slim Jim. Oh yeah. But I'm just thinking of like The Rock like goes to his car after a Monday Night Raw, or he's leaving because of something, and he opens his car and then just pours out filled with Slim
Full
Jims.
Slim Jims? That is hilarious.
Oh my god. And like Vince is on commentary, and as it's happening, Vince just has one of those like epic, intense reactions. Do you guys remember? Oh my god, I feel so old now. Do you guys remember when Vince was on commentary?
Yes.
Yes. of
Okay.
course.
It's gotta be Kane.
Yeah.
Like
Oh my God.
like yeah, that's the funny thing is on commentary he actually came up with a lot of the like famous like moments of saying what was happening on screen. But of course that's because he was the mastermind behind it also. It made perfect sense. But yeah, no, Vince on commentary, Gorilla Monsoon.
So good.
They were a great dynamic duo. So, but yeah, no, yeah, just Vince having a crazy reaction to his car's full of Slim Jims.
Yes, it's full of Slim Jims. Oh God, the humanity.
Oh, I'm gonna snap you like a Slim Jim.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. It'd be great. Okay, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, okay, The Rock, he's become champion, and he's getting cocky, and Mankind comes out to warn him. Oh, it would be funny if they
You're going full into
pack-
this.
Yeah, I love it. Did they have like did they play like video packages aggressively in the late 90s, or was that not really a thing that happened?
What do you mean video packages? Like
did they do pre-recorded segments? Because
Yeah.
then we
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like, well, that was the whole. It was before Attitude Era. Most stuff happened backstage or like before wrestling. Like what happened in the ring in like the golden age of wrestling was just wrestling. Like there wasn't anybody coming out and cutting a promo. It like The Rock and Stone Cold were the people that kind of made it so that everything was then to happen in the ring. Like you have like one of my earliest memories is Stone Cold's King of the Ring speech, which is one of the most famous wrestling like speeches of all times of introducing 316 and it's just like that all sort of started moving towards the ring to be in front of the crowd for that live reaction. But everything before that happened backstage on a set or whatever, so.
Amazing. So like The Rock can come out, let's say he has like recently won his championship and he's like, I'm the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. I don't care what any of you some bitches say. I could kick anybody's ass who comes and steps up to me. And then you see like this cage and it's like kind of rattling and Mankind comes up to it and he tries to warn The Rock the bad things are coming. If he loses control, if he doesn't respect.
He has to have Mr. Sacco say it though. Like it can't come from Mankind. It has to be Mr. Sacco.
You're right. Damn it, Mel, you're right. Mr. Sacco. So Mankind can be rattling the cage with his other hand, and Mr. Sacco can be talking.
So this is now fully
A Rock Christmas Carol.
The Rock Christmas Carol. Oh gosh.
But it's possible that we could still have the ultimate confrontation of the summit, the climax of the Rock Christmas Carol be a ladder match against Wrestling Past.
I mean, if
Randy
you think
Savage.
about the timing though, like if it would start now, let's say, and then build up over months to a WrestleMania, I feel like it would be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Jesus. That's so funny.
That's so awesome. Yeah. And then like so he can be confronted by other spirits. It's not everybody is represents a specific era, but The Rock does have to run through some people. So we can still have the Dean Malenko match. And I think he has to see visions of the Undertaker at some point too, because then you're like you have to tease the ghost of wrestling future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's spooky enough too.
But then
and then maybe, so like all of this haunting that's happening, maybe that's what leads up to the Macho Man's music out of nowhere just coming on, and then Macho Man finally making an in-person appearance. Like after all of these months of speculation and whatever, he makes his return.
And then we can get our sunglasses moment, of course.
So necessary.
Yes.
So all right. So All right, so we're nearing the point of where we should start talking about the actual match.
Okay.
Because we don't have too much time left to do our other segments. But so what we've kind of decided so far is what we want is we want the Rock Christmas Carol, where
Yes.
the Rock, newly crowned WWE champion, calls out wrestling past and saying that he's the new generation, that he's moving the company forward, and that he's what the people want, and that what came before him was useless, or he's the new big thing now. And then Mankind comes towards him and says, "You need to Rock, you need to you gotta be careful, because cursing wrestling past might come back to haunt you."
That's all delivered through Mr. Sacco.
Mr. Sacco.
and so then a few like old school wrestlers kind of take kind of don't like what Rocky's saying, kind of confront him, and then you have someone like Dean Malenko who like steps up and goes, "You gotta respect the past." Maybe Dean Malenko's like, "What's that one? What's the dude that worked for Scrooge?" He's that dude. Where he's kind of like, "Oh yeah, Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge." But Dean's like, "You gotta respect the past," and Rock's like, "Oh, you shut your mouth."
Shut your mouth. And and then they wrestle, right? But during the wrestling match, you see some shadowy figures in the crowd who you're not sure of who they are yet. They are wraiths. They are ghouls. They are phantoms. They are the ghosts of wrestling past. And
that one line led down to all of this. It was amazing.
Ghosts of wrestling past. But so then Rock beats Dean.
Yes.
He comes out the next week on Monday Night Raw, and he says, "I'm done with the past. It doesn't matter what happened 5, 10, 20 years ago. I am the future now. It doesn't matter if you're Dusty Rhodes. Doesn't matter if you're Roddy Piper. Doesn't matter if you're Hulk Hogan. It doesn't matter if you're Macho Man. I'm the man now." And then Macho Man's music hits.
So good.
And then he comes out on stage and they start cutting promo back and forth of just, you gotta respect what happened back then in order to appreciate what happened now. Maybe even Macho cuts a moment on Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson.
Oh,
it's like, where do you think your daddy would be proud of you now? To see what he raised his son to become in this business, a corporate shill who just wants money and power. Cuts a moment on Vince. Rock cuts a bit on maybe he cuts on Miss Elizabeth.
Oh no! How dare you, Rock? How dare you?
That would get him real heel heat. Coming towards each other, getting in the ring, and then it's glasses. Rock pulls off glasses, spits a line.
Yes.
Macho Man pulls off his glasses, spits a line, both eyebrows raised. Ooh. And then I guess where it then leads to is then maybe Stone Cold comes maybe like the next week or weeks, whatever. Stone Cold maybe comes and like maybe Macho Man comes out and says something, and Stone Cold and like is like cutting a promo or something. Stone Cold comes out and you think that Stone Cold's gonna turn on Macho, but like they like share a beer in the ring, and Stone Cold's like, "I agree with you. You gotta respect blah blah blah," and like just to get that babyface cheer and whatever.
Yeah, they're just flexing and drinking beers together, just like.
And that's where then maybe Rock comes out, and maybe Rock and Stone Cold have a match because Stone Cold's like, you gotta respect where these guys came from or something like that. And that's kind of playing into like wrestling present or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
do you think Macho Man could crush 2 beer cans in his arms? Like if
100%.
if you like pinned one there, and just went like
100%.
the Pythons are thirsty
yeah
for some Steve Weisers.
Like, yes.
We need to talk to
there's
you
no
about
doubt.
the king of the beers, Budweiser.
Or like he'd snap the can in half as if he was snapping into a Slim Jim. Oh my God.
And then
so funny.
I think then after he beats Stone Cold, because he got to, because it's just setting him up to greatness to then have him face Macho. That's where we do after that. He goes back to his car, and he's just leaving. He's like, I'm done here. I did what I need to do, whatever. And he goes back to his car full of Slim Jims.
Yes.
Sends a sign, and Rock's doing his classic reaction, like, what? And Vince is like, his car full of Slim Jims. And then I think then you have to play a couple weeks later to do the Wrestling Future thing, is then maybe Taker is maybe The Rock cuts a promo or something in the ring being like, everybody's coming after me because of I'm saying that we need to go into the future and that the past doesn't matter. But all I'm doing is I'm just stepping up and showing exactly what I'm talking about. And no one can even show to me what what is the real deal, or what's the truth. I'm the truth. And then maybe it's like Undertaker music hits.
Yes.
And then on the screen it's a promo package of like Taker in a graveyard or something. And he's like, Rock. And it's just like, him and Paul Bearer, because I just want Paul Bearer to be there still. And maybe Paul Bearer's like, Rocky. I can't do that voice for too long. Ooh, Rocky.
We are known here at Book It Vince, especially me, for doing horseshit impersonations.
I love it.
But what I'm trying to get to is they just got this promo about like, the past will come back to haunt you, and then they show like a gravestone that says like The Rock on it, and it's that fear of wrestling future, that sort of thing. And then I think at that point The Rock's kind of in the ring just looking, and he's like, what? No. And then that's where Macho Man attacks him.
Yeah.
And then they brawl. Right. And then that leads to the match.
The culmination of a Rock's Wrestling Christmas Carol.
I love it.
I think it then has to just be like the Macho Man's like, if you say that you're the future, then prove it to me and put your title on the line against me this Sunday at SummerSlam or whatever. I don't know when it's going to be, but that sort of thing.
I feel like it's WrestleMania worthy.
Or WrestleMania.
Like main event. Yeah.
It is. Oh, let's just put it at WrestleMania. Why
you want?
Fucking not?
Oh yeah, and and the way that can get into ladder match is like, is Macho is like, you want to prove that you're the best. You want to reach up and grab that brass ring. Well, then you're gonna need to reach higher than that, because I'm challenging you, Rock, to a ladder match at WrestleMania.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You think you could reach the top?
Yeah.
You think you could reach the top?
Yeah, just playing into that whole reaching the top being the pinnacle.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how excited this makes like teenage Mel. Like, I can't even tell you.
Their match would be, the match would be excellent. It would be very classic. Like, these two have their move sets. These two, do what they do best in the ring. But man, it would just be so. It's one of those matches where you can't really call it beat by beat, because it's just like you kind of know the beats.
Yeah. The one thing, if I could like hope to see is the Macho Man to do the flying elbow from the top of the ladder.
Oh yeah.
Like, if there would be a safe way of doing that for everybody involved, it would be like, and then all like the flashes of the cameras going off in the audience. Classic.
That's very considerate of you to be like, if it's safe for Macho Man to perform this spot, we're just like, yeah, we just throw through 3 ladders and just like break his leg. Yeah.
What if Macho Man? Would it be too much if Macho Man no-sold the people's elbow?
Oh no, it would not be too much. It would
Okay.
be completely within his character.
Yes.
Just
That
doing
he no-sells. Yeah.
Just doing
Oh,
the
that's
just
so
doing the whole
good.
spiel, jumping over him, running the ropes, drops the elbow, and then Macho just sits right back up.
If Macho Man could do a kip up, that would be so funny. Like if he would,
He's just
if he could kip
hulking.
up,
He's just starting to hulk out.
yeah. And I think like there would be a really amazing moment in the match where they just are hitting each other and just like this is like peak masculinity of them just no selling each other's huge hits, and it's just like oh
Yeah.
oh
And then like the backhand on the chest, like really hard.
oh
That
yeah,
slap.
just big chops.
Oh,
Yeah,
Huge
that's
chops.
it.
Huge woo chops.
Woo.
Ric
then
Flair's in the
now-
crowd. Woo!
So then, Mel, what's got to be the finish?
Yeah, what's the finishing moment here?
Well, I mean, so, okay, here's how I see it ending. So the Macho Man gets up on the ladder. You think he's going for the belt, but instead the Rock's on the ground. He's like totally tired, beaten up. The Macho Man does the flying elbow from off the top of the ladder, finishes the Rock, and then proceeds to climb up the ladder, grab the belt, and just like you hear his music go off, and he's just got his arms in the air, and yeah, that's how I see it ending.
Macho Man goes over. Macho Man,
Yeah.
new WWE.
Wow, that's crazy.
champion.
Yep.
In the late 90s, we
Yep.
we
He makes
see
the comeback.
Macho Man. Yeah. Wow, just
Well, this is where you can get
burying
a
the Rock.
fresh new
Yeah.
baby, a fresh new either babyface or heel of the time to climb up and try to take it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, who would be around
That's
at the
amazing.
time? Who'd be around at the time that would be probably a really good person to have come and challenge Macho Man for the title.
I feel like Stone Cold, like they might have had a friendship, but then he turns on him kind of thing.
Yeah, he comes out to celebrate with him with just beers. Just beers.
Yeah.
Endless beers. And then he just smashes one on Macho Man's head, hits him with the Stone Cold Stunner. He holds the belt. Actually, no, he just puts the belt in the middle of the ring and just pours beer all over it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there's the famous Stone Cold handshake with the devil moment where it was Stone Cold becoming heel, which did not go over well. But it's infamous now. So it's just so hard for Stone Cold to be. I mean, he was an okay heel. It just it was. But who knows? Maybe this would be a better run of him being a heel after he attacks a legend like the Macho Man.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, when he breaks a friendship, right? Like we have that moment that we established earlier in our booking that he would be friends with Macho Man and he respects him and they drink beer together. They crush cans together with their biceps as guys being dudes would do.
In the late 90s on TV.
They're just shotgunning beers and breaking cans, man.
Saying swear words and flipping off.
Yeah, they're just flipping off the crowd. Oh man, that's amazing. We went from a really legitimate, serious booking of The Rock versus Macho Man Randy Savage to a Rock's wrestling Christmas Carol,
Well,
which
it's still
is
slightly serious. It's still an interesting.
it's pretty
look
amazing though.
at present versus past, but
So good.
yeah. So we have The Rock's Christmas Carol, The Rock faces wrestling past.
Yes, past, future, and present. It's all there. It's all just in time for the holidays here at Book It Vince.
It's Perfect. Oh my God, what a match. What a match.
Yes, what a match.
That would have been incredible to see. All right,
Yeah.
but there we go. That is The Rock versus Macho Man Randy Savage. The Rock Christmas Carol. Let us know online or in the comments of the podcast, what how you would have booked Macho Man versus The Rock. Who else would be the ghosts of wrestling, past, present, or future, that you would have wanted, that you'd see The Rock facing. And yeah, let us know what you thought. And so to close off the episode, we have our viewer question and our match recommendation that we're going to get from Mel. To remind people, you can submit your questions to us on our social media when we post about looking for questions, or of course you can submit a question to us at any time by going over to our website, UnknownErrorFilms.com/bookitvince, and submitting a question there. And also over there on the website is where you can check out all of the past episodes of the podcast and also all of our past batch recommendations. So first off, the question this week for us is, let me just pull it up here. Sorry. What is your favorite and least favorite wrestler theme song? I can go
Is
with
this
my.
for me too?
Yeah, it's for all of us.
Okay.
I'll just say my favorite. I mean, it's kind of a tie. Like, my favorite ever is Edge's theme song. It's just, as soon as that song comes on, I just pop. Like, just, you think you know me, like, it's just classic. Like, I love it so much. I mean, it's I love any theme song that, like, as soon as it starts, you know something is gonna go down. Whether that's Edge's because of You Think You Know Me, Stone Cold's Glass Shattering going into it. Even now, even current, I love Kevin Owens' theme song, because as soon as it hits that first riff of how does it go again? I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Least favorite? It's too easy to say anything that's happening right now is kind of my least favorite, because they've started to just make very generic
there
songs.
There are a lot of bad themes
nowadays. I guess
I know what mine would be, but they're like,
okay.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
So again, they're from like my childhood, but my favorite was The Ultimate Warrior, because as soon as you would hear that first, like, whatever, that beat drop, it was just like he just launched to the ring.
Oh yeah, just the energy of just
Yes.
Yeah.
And my least favorite would have to be Jake Roberts, because it was very low energy, I found, and just like not exciting. So yeah, those would be my two.
What about you, Anthony?
Oh, I mean, you covered some of the really good ones, but I think one of my favorites, just because of what it's become and sort of like the response it elicits from the wrestling crowd, is Kurt Angle's. Because like that's another one where you're like, you can hear like the horns or whatever, and then everybody, you suck. You suck.
Brandon.
Yeah. So like I think that's like an all-time favorite for me, and then
also just fits his character. So like the crowd interaction, what it eventually became aside, but like just the song itself really fits him as like his character of the Olympian and all that stuff.
Yeah. And another one that I really, really loved was Kane. So I mean, like, it's the pirate.
Like the like No Mask Kane, like the like the guitar one. Because originally his music was very similar to Mankind's, where it's just like that kind of like orchestra, like creepy music. But then Kane got the guitar one where it really like
I love that one. The fire. It was kind of like the late stage Kane when he transitioned to maskless Kane.
Yeah,
like it was that theme that it really does it for me. What is a theme that I really don't like? I mean, I love this wrestler, but Trish's theme like is not great.
Oh yeah.
It just kind of starts with like the laughing, and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
okay.
rock and roll.
I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Right,
And
yeah.
I really hate Randy Orton. I mean, as a wrestler, I'm sure he's a fine man. He's probably a fine person, but I just like,
Wait, do you hate his current one? I have voices in my
yeah, I hate
yeah.
that. I hate it so much.
I like
It's
his old
so
one.
annoying.
I like this old one.
Yeah. But the I hear voices in my head is just like it's so. Oh God, it's so awful for me.
And who can well, here's just a couple of other great ones. I mean, Booyaka Booyaka 619.
Yeah.
I mean, John Cena's. I mean, it became a meme now.
It is a meme. Yeah, it is just
great rap record. So moving on.
great rap record. And obviously Hulk Hogan is like it's pretty iconic and like yeah, everybody knows when that song comes on. You know, real American, blah 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 blah. You know.
What do you think of? I guess this is just a side tangent. What do you think of wrestlers who use like actual real, just like? I mean, a lot of in the 90s, people use just like actual music as their theme songs. What do you think of that? Or is it better if it's like custom made for them? Because like that's where then Taker was American Badass and had Rollin' from Limp Bizkit.
Right.
CM Punk had Cult of Personality as his theme song. Ronda Rousey had a Bad Reputation by Joan Jett as her theme song. Like, what do you think of that?
So I think the NWO also used Jimi Hendrix, didn't they?
Oh.
Or something? I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe I think they ended up getting a custom one because that's always...
Did they?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe when they like first showed up on the scene, I can't remember. But because they have a classic one that like they always come out to.
Right.
But D-Generation X's theme song is also super good. I love that one too.
Yeah.
But
I think if it's like if it's well suited for the person and they've picked it out, and yeah, I think then that's fine. But like for the most part, I like the original themes better because then you can really attach yourself to that theme and that person. But I do love when like indie wrestlers use like real songs and like have extended entrances to them. Like there's like really hilarious video of this wrestler Grado who used to be in Impact. He's like a UK guy, and he does like his extended like walk in to a Madonna song, like a prayer or like a prayer, I think. and it's like it's a hilarious watch on YouTube. You gotta check it out. Great. He's dancing around. All these like sweaty English dudes at this wrestling show are singing along to it, and it's like it's magic. It's the magic of wrestling.
That's so
well.
Good.
I mean, Macho Man, he went classic. Like Pomp and Circumstance is just like a classical song, and everybody hears it at every graduation. So it's like you can never escape it.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, cool. Well, there we go. There's our favorite, least favorite wrestling theme songs. Let us know online what your favorite or least favorite wrestling theme song is. And to close out the episode, Mel, we want to know, what is your match recommendation that you want all the viewers to go and check out, whether it's a favorite match of yours or something that you think people definitely need to have gone and watched?
Hands down, my favorite WrestleMania of all time, which was WrestleMania 6 in Toronto at the Sky Dome. I would highly recommend watching the championship match between the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. It was just fire. Like, yeah, that's my recommendation.
Man,
that's great.
Yeah, no, that's just
classic, an all timer,
that's a classic. Learn your history, learn your wrestling history.
Yeah, don't be like us, where we really only know like intensely about wrestling from the last like 20 years tops.
That's all right. I love those.
It
I love those
balances
old school
out
matches.
because I like, know nothing from the last 20 years. Because I like know nothing from the last 20 years. So it's all good. It's all good.
I love those old school matches. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior is a classic.
Yeah.
And yeah, it
when
happened.
when things go back to a relatively stable Mel, you gotta come out to a Royal Rumble watch party. You gotta.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's pretty fantastic. The one that I usually go to. Shout out to the McCready's. They host a great one where you there's like a bingo roller where you pick out your numbers for the women's and men's rumble, and there's a prize at the end if your person wins. It's all around a great time. Great mix of people.
Love
hopefully
it. I would love
we can
to.
hopefully we can do pay-per-view watch parties soon again.
Yes,
know.
exactly. Mhm.
But Mel, thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
Thank you
Yes.
for having me. This was so much fun.
Mel, do you have anything to promote or plug or such like things before we let you go?
Well, hey, I'm on an improv team with the Assembly Improv, so check them out on Facebook. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at fun_ismel. So yeah, just give me a follow.
Perfect.
Amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Book It, Vince. As always, please make sure you follow everything that we do here at Unknown Error online, Twitter and Instagram at UE_films. You can follow myself personally online at Barton_Bennett. You can follow Mr. Anthony Hall
At Hall and Jokes on Twitter and Instagram.
And you can follow, like she said, our super awesome guest Mel online on her Instagram and everything else she promoted. Thank you very much for listening and or watching this episode. Please be safe out there. Please wear a mask. Go watch some wrestling. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow.